what's the concept of them snatching you? Like, these people are real life thinking they're being abducted.
I mean, can you imagine how traumatic? I mean, it was traumatic for me, but even though it was my parents and, because they're who went along and everything. So it was still traumatic, because you're just like snatched up and like your whole world's all suddenly changed. Yeah, mine was called Spring Creek Lodge. And my mom she told me that she tried to get me to the Jamaica one. And I heard that at that one, they would hog tie kids and leave them like out in these wooden things, like hog tied, just to give them like bread and water and stuff.
Say that you're gonna be yeah. Are you gonna be in love with me? I want you and need you to be.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Bully Becoming Podcast.
It's your girl, Kiara Chantel.
And I'm Malaysia J. And we have a guest speaker today.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
She's new to this world. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's have some fun, though.
Okay.
Let's try to have fun.
Awesome.
Take a deep breath.
And
Yes.
you guys too at home.
Okay, yeah.
That felt good.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Katie.
I am a mom and a daughter. I don't know, obviously. I'm an executive assistant. I just graduated college this past year, a little older, than
Nice.
most.
What did you graduate with? Or-
Well, I went to Liberty University, and it's my bachelor's in religion, biblical, and theological studies.
Nice.
And I did that because I just wanted to know what it was all about. So not that I think I'm going to get a job in it, but just
Yeah.
What better way to learn, right?
right, yeah.
What jobs are in that, though? Do you know?
You could do be a preacher or something, which it's
gotcha.
not really what I'm going to do, but or like a missionary or a lot of like
A nun?
nonprofit,
I'm
none,
kidding.
a lot of like charity work and just stuff like that, teaching, a lot of teaching jobs.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, I just did it because I wanted to learn
Okay,
what everything was
cool.
about.
And so, what it if you don't mind me asking, so what's the call? What did you learn?
Jesus.
Yeah, he's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, powerful. Ooh,
Yeah.
Katie.
Okay.
We're not gonna get too much into that, but that's amazing. So, did you find yourself coming closer?
I did, yeah, because I just grew up a certain way, like grandfather's a preacher, everything, but I never understood it, and so I figured and I questioned everything from the time I was
Yeah.
like born until I
Right,
still do.
which makes sense. I feel like that's a common thing too, because a lot of people, they grow up in a religion because their parents was that religion, and you're not the only one.
right,
A lot of people,
and then
go
you
through
go your whole life saying I'm this or I'm that because you were raised that way. But then if you really break it down, like what does that mean? Like what is that? Like what
Right.
you can't even explain it to someone else if they ask you because you don't know. So
Wow.
Exactly.
that was my problem. yeah.
So here we like to talk about, like, we like to point out certain things. Do you realize like how big that is, that you actually graduated and that's beautiful.
Yeah, because I honestly, my whole life, I just never thought that was something
that you were
I was going to be able to do.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
thank
You're welcome.
So
I guess we can just get a little bit into it, I think we should maybe start by going back. Like, what was it like growing up? Where did you grow up?
Well, okay, so I grew up a lot of places. I was born in Louisiana, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Nebraska, Florida, and now Georgia since 2009. So I would say I'm a Georgia person.
Girl.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
which
Well-traveled.
state was the best state?
Honestly, I like Texas.
Oh.
And I think that's just because we had like a pool.
Okay.
So when I was a kid,
Okay.
so good memories.
What part of Texas did you grow up in?
Fort Worth.
So I grew up in Fort Hood.
Oh, really?
My parents were in the military, so
Okay.
I'm from Texas too.
I'm a railroad brat, not a military brat, but yeah, a railroad brat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In real life, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so like you moved around a lot. What was that like for you? Was it hard to like make friends and like just have all of those experiences?
Yeah, it was really hard. Honestly, I was bullied like everywhere because my parents would always send me to like these little private schools, and the class would be like, I don't know, 12 people, like 6 girls and 6 whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
So since I was always the new person and I was really sweet and like I had a little baby voice all the time
And you're so pretty.
and I was innocent and like I think I was really sheltered. So I was like an easy target. So it was rough, honestly. And then I never had friends. I mean, I never had friends. But my daughter actually found this old like devotional book I used to have when I was a kid, and she said her and her friends were reading it and like laughing because I was like, it's like, what? Name one of your best friends. What would you? I was like, I don't have any friends. Like in the book,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's
How
funny
was
now.
that like growing up feeling like that? Because now you've been feeling that way for several of years. How does that affect you daily?
Or your ability to make friends like now as an adult.
I mean, I think, well, just that whole thing, just being kind of depressed and feeling bullied and like having to move around, not having any stability affected me in a lot of negative ways, like as I was growing up, like teenage years, early adult years. So as far as like with other people, it cured that because I was so used to it. I just got to the point where I was like, I don't care anymore. Like I don't care what anybody thinks about me, and like go ahead and be mean to me. Like I just don't care.
Yeah. I feel like everyone, well, I can't say everyone, but I was bullied too.
You were too?
Yeah, I was bullied. I was bullied by boys and girls, but it's because we were pretty.
And like I think if you're nice too, like you know, like you're just not like the things that I would never have thought to do that to somebody else, you know. So they just see that and they, you know, you're just an easy target, you know.
Right.
Until this day, what would you like? Would you say like, because you seem very like loving and still sweet? Do you feel like you're still that?
Yeah, I am. I'm just more. No, I'm still sweet. I really never went away. I can't. I was gonna say I'm more like guarded or whatever, which and I think I am, but I don't even think it's that. I'm like wiser, I guess. But like, yeah, because I'm still open. I still.
What would be an example of like your guarding? Because me too. Like I feel like I guard in friendships as well. So
Skeptical.
what would like is that how you go into the friendship? Like you gotta earn your trust, or I'm gonna trust you until you prove me wrong.
I think I trust, you know, you can trust everybody to a certain extent, you know, but it's just a matter of like how far can you trust each person. And
Right.
but a lot of it's like my gut feeling too, because it's never been wrong. Like when I look back at things and like I've made decisions like in spite of my better judgment or like my gut feeling, and if my gut was always right.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
impactful.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah,
a woman's
trust your
conscience.
intuition.
Yep.
Like a woman's intuition, just
Yep.
intuition period is a huge thing. You have to follow that. It's like we just said in our last episode, you're always one decision away from like changing the
Flourishing.
trajectory
Oh
of your
yeah,
life,
like
right?
what do they call it, the butterfly effect or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's super important.
Yeah.
And so like, do you have siblings? What was it like growing up with like your siblings? Are you guys really close?
Yeah, we're pretty close. I'm the youngest, and I have two older sisters. The oldest one, she's like 14 years older than me. So yeah, so but we're still close. But even though she was out of the picture when I was growing up a little bit, but my other sister's 4 years older than me. So yeah, we're closer now even because, and especially right now because we're going through a family little thing. But they're great. They were always there for me, and it was fun with them.
So do you want to go ahead and get into it?
Yeah, let's go ahead
As
and
far
get
as
into it.
because as you know, we did a pre-talk.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, your behavioral school, how did that come about? Is that part of that fun we talk about?
Well, that wasn't fun. But so my sisters, they got both my parents, you know, all the time and kind of like some structure or whatever. And my parents both, and I don't fault them for this at all. I love my parents. No parent is perfect because no kid comes with a manual, and parents have their own lives, whatever. So they said that. I love my parents, totally forgive them for all their mistakes, you know.
Yeah.
But they ended up getting separated. My mom was going through like some sort of midlife crisis. She was running off to France with people and stuff, just
living
leaving
a
my
life.
dad at home. Yeah, and it was wild. So I had like no stability, and then my parents eventually got divorced and everything, and that was really hard on me. So I kind of rebelled, like, and I was doing bad things. I was doing drugs. I was, you know, drinking, and I was like 15, you know, 14. My but then and part of that inconsistency, like my mom would drive me to a rave or whatever on a school night and then
Oh,
get
wow.
mad because I'm like on acid or something and I don't want to go to school the next day.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why'd you
Oh,
drive me to a
Why
rave,
did you take
Mom?
me there? Yeah.
Dang. Wow. So did your sisters get that?
Yeah.
But, you know, my
Like,
sister,
we're gonna take you to a rave on a Tuesday. How about that?
my not my oldest sister, but my middle sister, she would go too, but she was like really involved in like the youth group at church, da, da, da. So she'd just be there dancing and having a good time, and I'm
Yeah.
the one to sit in the corner like. So I was pretty bad as a kid. I mean, bad and like I was rebellious because
Yeah.
I was mad at everything. I was mad at being bullied. I was mad at my parents and all kinds of stuff. So that resulted in eventually, my parents, as they were divorced still, but I think my mom had already remarried, but they surprised me one day they hired a bodyguard person, like some martial arts expert guy
Wow.
in a Winnebago. And they as soon as I woke up in the morning, they threw me in a Winnebago and drove me to Montana where they had signed over custody of me. Like, I think it's like a certain percentage of custody they have to sign over to these people and like pay them a whole bunch of money to keep me in like a behavioral modification program. And I was supposed to be there until I was 18 or 18.
And what was the thing that made your dad be like, no, you're going to this school?
Yeah. Do they have
I
like
think it was more like my
reason?
mom, but I got arrested a couple times too. And I think I got arrested one time on Father's Day for, I think I was smoking weed in a park or something so stupid. And I was just, I was doing bad things, and I think that it just got to like, they'd had enough,
Yeah.
So, and it's like, you can't really explain to them like, well, it's your fault, it's whatever,
Yeah.
but they just didn't know how to handle me. I was the first person, like my sisters were pretty like perfect, they were great. And even like my whole family, like aunts, everybody's just, they don't drink, they're like super good. So it was just kind of a shock till my parents were probably like the wildest ones out of
Yeah.
the family. And then,
Wow.
yeah. So, and I understand like they were scared for me. And so at the time it seemed like a good idea because and I think about it sometimes, like if one of my kids would have been out of
Doing what you
control,
were doing?
yeah, what would I do?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it's who knows what to do in that situation because you want to protect your kids. So,
Right. Yeah.
so I understand. It's just,
And what was that like for you going like?
First of all, how
day
long was the
one-
drive? And did they stop for you, like, so you could go pee?
they
and
did. That's why
eat?
they had the bodyguard because he would have to follow me into the bathroom and
Wow.
stuff. Yeah.
Crazy.
If I would have seen you, I would have thought you
I
was
was getting
getting sex
kidnapped.
trafficked.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I would have
Yeah.
been like, ma'am, do you need help?
let her out.
Yeah. I would have been like, yes, trying to run away.
Let's go. I could envision
Some
that.
martial arts guy following behind me.
Wow.
Crazy.
So how long was that drive though?
I don't remember because we were in Nebraska at the time. So
Oh, okay.
Nebraska to Montana, I don't know. I don't remember, but it was a while, and
Yeah.
and I was just so like hurt the whole time. Like, gosh, you guys are
Yeah.
getting rid of me. Like you're, So it hurt, and I was scared, and then it was just like a really bad feeling when you go there. And I've heard other people's stories, and they actually got kidnapped. I didn't get kidnapped, but I did get kidnapped, but by like a stranger and then my
Yeah.
parents. So they
wonder
wanted
what
to
the-
be along for
I
the
wonder
ride.
what the kidnapping part is for though. Like you're literally thinking, well, outside of your story, because you was snatched out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
What's the concept of them snatching you? Like these people are real life thinking they're being
Yeah.
abducted.
I mean, can you imagine how traumatic? I mean, it was traumatic for me, but even though it was my parents and, because they who went along and everything. So it was still traumatic, because you're just like snatched up and like your whole world's all suddenly changed,
Yeah.
and you're young. It's like, so it was,
And how old were you when you went?
I was 15. I think I was 14 or 15.
And that was the moment that your parents needed to hold on to you more, or like, do you feel like they just weren't understanding you? Did you have a relationship with them where you could talk to them and be
No.
like, no?
And that's the thing I learned, and that's what I did with my kids, is that I never felt like I had anyone to talk to because, my dad was off like being sad, or my mom was running him, whatever,
Yeah.
So my dad wasn't ever allowed to like parent me. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna like tear you
No, it's okay.
Because my dad
That's
is-
what we got tissue for.
because my dad's, in his the last days or whatever weeks of his life right now. So, sorry, but he was
I
never really
absolutely
allowed to like be a parent to me so much because my mom, and bless her, I love my mom too, but she had her own issues and just wasn't having it. And he kind of like, he had a bad temper back when I was a kid and stuff. But I mean, as an adult now, I get it because my mom probably drove him crazy.
He was
You know?
he was overly
Overwhelmed.
stimulated. That's another thing that, you know, we were going to talk about eventually, but overstimulation is real. Like where you have this kid, you got multiple kids, you trying to survive, eat right, be healthy, you know, balance your own personal life, your marriage, and your kids.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like I tell them all, like sometimes like even touch stimulation, like when your kid is just touching you
Oh,
all
gosh,
the time,
yeah.
it's like,
Stop it.
I just need a break.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Wow.
So, what was like day one like when you got there? Like the realization that, okay, my parents have shipped me off
Yeah.
to this place. What was that like for you?
It was really tough. Like they, so they went through all my luggage or whatever, which my parents had packed, so I didn't really know it was in there. And then they introduced me to my, I guess, was it a case? Like I don't know what they called her, case worker or something. She was this Native American lady. What was her name? Ellen was her name. And my parents left, and that was like, wow, like they literally drove off. And I, you know, saw them drive off, and that was the kicker. Like,
Heartbreaking.
yeah, like literally heartbroken. And so here I am in this weird place with these weird strangers in the middle of nowhere. They introduced me to like my family, my new family, and we had to stay in like I don't remember how many of us there were. There was just like bunk beds all over a room, and then we had like our family moms. They would, you know, one would be the day mom and the night mom.
And how was that? Like, what was the mom like?
You know, they were pretty nice. Like,
Okay.
like mine were. We had one young girl and one like older lady, and like they were nice. Other people's weren't so great, you know. And there was some. It was a very weird place. Like we had to walk in heel to toe like lines everywhere with So like my toe had to be touching the person in front of me's heel, and my hands had to be on their shoulder. Like everywhere we went. There was the boys there too, so we weren't allowed to look at the boys. And if they caught us making eye contact or looking their direction, then we'd be in trouble. And what that punishment was very.
Did you guys have a point system? Because I've seen a Netflix documentary where they had point systems.
Yes.
And you had to reach a certain amount of points to graduate.
Oh,
and if
yeah.
you didn't.
And getting to that point is they make it pretty much impossible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they want you to kind of age out. They're not looking for you to.
And a lot of the people that did age out of the program were so like brainwashed to after they stayed there and like worked. There was like 2 or 3 people that had graduated the program and everything like that, and then they just never left. Yeah.
Wow. And maybe that's what they hope for, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It was really wild.
What about female personals? Like how did that work? Did you guys have access to tampons and pads, or?
Yeah, I think I don't. The showers were cold.
oh no.
Yeah, there was no hot water.
Hot water.
No, we had to wake up every day at like 5 a.m.
I would have died alone.
That would have been it for me.
Yeah.
Showers
And
are
cold
so
showers.
important to me. They were cold showers.
Yes, cold showers.
Oh,
no hot water.
absolutely
That would have
not.
been it.
Yes, and if we got one of the punishments, we would have to duck walk all day. Like when you know what that is, right? Mm-mm. Oh, I'm not going to show you, but you like low squat and you just kind of walk.
Oh my
Why?
gosh.
Yeah, that was just one of the punishments. So your quads would be like on fire.
Yeah.
And they would. Okay, so my parents ended up getting me from there after a few months. It was like 5 months or something like that, 5 or 6. So because they went to the parent program and they saw what was going on, and my mom said that my dad was like, oh, it's okay, like didn't notice. And I don't know what the real story is, but she said that when she saw what was going on, they were like doing some group hypnotism, weird stuff. Like she said, parents were like beating chairs up and like
That was the Netflix documentary. I swear.
They
to
said that
you.
same thing? Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, my mom
Is
says
that school still open? Do you know?
I don't think so. It's called the Worldwide Association. I can't say that word. Of specialty programs. It's like WWWASP.
And they had
Wow.
some in like several states.
Yep, there was Montana, Utah. They had some in Samoa, Jamaica, Russia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this
Your
is like the
school
same
was
thing
on
Paris
Netflix.
Hilton.
This
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So it was mine was called Spring Creek Lodge. And my mom she told me that she tried to get me to the Jamaica one. And I heard that at that one, they would hog tie kids and leave them like out in these wooden things, like hog tied, just to give them like bread and water and
Oh
stuff.
my god.
And what made her want you to go to the Jamaica
Well, she didn't
one?
know that. They
She's
didn't
like,
know.
let me
Yeah.
try to make it as nice
nice
as
location,
possible.
right? Like she has
Yeah.
an island, some sun.
Yeah, she was thinking, and she thought that this program was gonna be like some wilderness, like tough
Like
love.
camp.
Yeah, like
So they didn't give no detail?
not the truth. Yeah, because at my program they had what do they call the Hobbit? They call it the Hobbit, and that was the bad punishment. There was you had to go to this place called the Hobbit, which was like this little shack in the middle of the woods. Like you're the only thing out there. There's no other structures, no people. They just drive you out there and drop you off. You're locked in there, and you have
You're
to.
locked in there?
And it's
And
like
what's in there? A toilet?
no, there's like a little shelf that you sleep on, basically. Like
Shelf?
yeah, it's like a shelf, and a bucket that you can drink water out of and also pee in.
What?
That is cruel.
Yeah, that was the worst. And then they had these little teepees that were also punishment, but they weren't as bad as the Hobbit. And so other people would have to go in those. And I don't really know as much about the teepees, but I actually saw the Hobbit. I didn't have to go there, thank God. I got in trouble one time and I was
You're like,
terrified.
that's it for
And
me.
what did
Yeah.
you do?
I just got since it was my first and only time getting in trouble, they just knocked some of my points off, even though I had just gotten there or whatever. And sorry, my jaw is quivering because I'm freezing. Right now. Yes. Oh my gosh. So when I got in trouble, they just took points off and called me out in front of like everybody, and all I did was write a letter that I put like some song lyrics in it or something. It was a journal, and they thought that it was, since it was song lyrics, it's like a Mariah Carey song or something,
gosh.
and they
Wow.
thought that I was planning to escape or something.
What?
Yeah, so they called me out. It was so humiliating, but not nearly as bad as what other people had to go through and get in
Yeah.
trouble for.
Wow.
So what was it like acclimating back to like the real world after your parents picked you up and kind of like broke you free of this, this
And how
terrible
did-
place?
Do you remember the feeling that you felt when they came and got you?
Yeah.
Well, I got a letter first, and my mom had called the sheriff of the little town surrounding that area in Montana. She's like, they're not going to touch my daughter. She's not allowed to do anything. She called the sheriff. I don't know what the sheriff could have done, but she let me know in the letter, like, I've called the law authorities. You're not allowed to participate in anything else. They're not allowed to touch you. We're coming to get you. And I got that letter. I was like,
And so did they
overjoyed.
cease things at that point? Like, did
For
they
me?
not touch you? And
Yeah, they didn't,
Okay.
because everybody else that had came in at the same time that I came in around the same time, they have to do this thing called a gravel pit, and no one was allowed to talk about it. But a couple of people ended up in the hospital afterwards, like they had to go, and which at least they got the medical, attention. But I did hear, some stuff about what happens, and it's basically they once again snatch you up in the middle of the night, make you go. I don't know where they took you, but it was, rough terrain somewhere.
Yeah.
And then like they know your story when you go there. So like one girl was struggling because her friend died, and another girl had gotten raped and stuff, and so they know like a lot of your personal issues. And so while you're going through this, I don't know, obstacle court, whatever it is, they're yelling at you, telling you, like, they told the girl, it's your fault, you killed your friend, it's your fault your friend is dead, and like, what'd you do to get yourself raped, and like just tormenting these people who are dealing with these awful things. And then
in the moments where they need it, like
Yeah,
love,
need love
the
and affection and
most.
care.
Because I remember when I was a teenager, like I just needed someone to talk to and like someone to literally like explain to me, well, why not? Like, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't a bad child, but I kind of went through something similar with you. I was able to kind of like rebel a little bit. I also like, did things at a young age.
Yeah.
Started very early. But the crazy thing is like I just needed a family. Like I needed security.
Stability.
Like I needed, love and
And at the end of the day, you're just developing, right? Like you're still young.
hormones.
You're going through all of these changes, especially
Yeah.
as a teenager. You just need some grace and
Yeah.
understanding.
Right. And someone to talk to that's, in my case, it was like my mom was going to overreact. And my
Right.
dad wasn't really there. But my mom couldn't trust her to tell her anything because she's going to blow it out of proportion and do things
Right.
like send me to,
Yeah.
a place. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then and then we were saying how did it feel? Like what were your emotions when they picked you up?
I was just so happy. I was just relieved. I felt like, like I've been saved. I mean, because I had been,
Yeah.
but it was just so amazing. It was a great feeling. But then, of course, I got home and, nothing. I honestly, I got pregnant when I got home
Okay.
with my son. And I think a lot of that subconsciously, because even prior to that program, my mom used to always go to hospitals and lock me up in hospitals, like in the mental ward, or because she was like, something's wrong with you because you're behaving like this, so there must be something wrong. And then she'd sneak me in cigarettes into there. So
Yeah.
So how much of your mom played a part?
And just your behavior anyway. Like she kind
Yeah.
of enabled it in a sense.
she did. She enabled it. It was very confusing, very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So that really kind of screwed with my head a little bit. So
Yeah, like how do you even know
But maybe
what's
she
right and
felt
what's
like
wrong?
maybe she
Right.
was like feeling bad and she was having mom guilt. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And do you think that was the case?
I think
Like,
so. And then
And how old were you?
when I got pregnant?
Yeah.
I was 15.
Or what about when she was locking you in hospitals? How was she locking you in hospitals? Like that's
Well,
legal?
Yeah, apparently, because a lot of people with
Oh,
drug
like, but it was a
addictions,
okay,
right? Drug
gotcha.
addictions and stuff would have to be on the same level as people who wanted to, kill themselves or whatever.
And it
whatever.
was because you were like doing things like smoking,
Yeah,
drinking.
and she thought I was really depressed, and I went through a lot of phases, right?
Uh-huh.
Too, I went through a goth phase, I went through a, punk rock phase, a skateboarder phase.
You got a picture? You got a picture?
Not on me, but I do. I used to like shave my head. I just had bangs, and I had
And
like,
you used to shave it on your own.
and I had
Okay,
like my
yeah.
nose pierced, my lip pierced, and I wore like mini skirts and combat boots every day, like for a while. And then until that switch, I was just, but a part of that's
Just
normal.
trying to find yourself.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out your
I
identity.
remember because I also grew up with like a lot of my cousins, and they were all different type of ages too. And I remember literally emotionally knowing like I am off. I am not right. I was like going through jealous stages, and I was like, just envious, and just because they were able to do things I wasn't able to do, or like, they have freedom that I wasn't able to have.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine, like, how do you feel now? Like, did your parents ever apologize?
So my mom, yeah, and when my mom did apologize, it made me feel bad because like she did it recently, and I just wanted her to know I love you, like I don't care, I
Yeah.
understand you make mistakes, but I just love you so much, and no matter what she did and mistakes she made, I never felt like she didn't love me,
Right.
Okay,
like I never
good.
felt like I was unloved. I just wasn't heard or understood or
And in those moments, like when you were going through that, do you recall like what you wanted to say or what you could have said?
And well, in the moment, I didn't know what to say because I didn't even know. I didn't know how to. I didn't know what
How
was
to
going on
express
to
it,
explain
yeah.
it. Yeah, so I just
Just going through
yeah.
it.
As I got older and I just kind of analyzed everything and figured it out, like put it together. That gave me an understanding, but I was a little angry, I guess, for a while, kind of. Until I figured it out that like she's not perfect and she did what she thought was best. She would never do anything that she thought was going to hurt me.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it always takes for you to like grow up and realize that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long, like, do you feel like you were ever like, did you ever hold resentment?
Yeah, I did. I would say until like in my late 20s, probably. So and I didn't even realize that I was, but I did kind of like subconsciously or whatever blame other people, my
Yeah.
parents or whatever for things.
Do you feel like becoming a parent allowed you to like extend some of that grace or kind of like look at it through their eyes and their perspective?
Absolutely, it did, because that's what made me realize, like, because I wasn't a great parent when my son was first born, because I was 16, so I didn't know, and I felt all these crazy feelings. I mean, I just went from that whole situation, the going to the program and everything, to suddenly being a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, still in high school.
Yeah.
Right. That's drastic.
Super crazy, yeah. So, but it did give me a different perspective, and in a lot of ways, it freed me. It's gonna sound weird, but I feel like sometimes subconsciously, like I didn't get pregnant on purpose, but
Right.
it made me that they weren't
It made
able to
you
do
st-
anything to me anymore.
Mm.
I was
yeah.
independent. You can't touch me now because I am a parent. I have a child too, so you can't do anything to me. You can't lock me
Wow.
up anymore. You can't send me away anywhere because now I'm important or whatever.
Right. Wow.
You know, and I think, and honestly, subconsciously, I think maybe that's what happened. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just thinking it makes sense because at that moment, I was free, you know? And as soon as I graduated high school, I moved to Florida, like by myself. I was
Wow.
17. Then no family with me, anything. My sister lived nearby in Florida. But yeah,
Just got up
I
and
had to be free. Yeah, just
Kudos
wanted
to
my
you,
freedom.
though, for like being
Yeah.
able to finish high school, like being a brand
Yep.
new mom, going through something so traumatic like that, and then still graduating on time.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. That was
that's
wild.
big.
That's huge.
Yeah, and like I was doing really bad in school before, you know, everything. But then also having my son and everything turned me to a better person, like instantly for a while, and then I got bad again.
Yeah.
But for a while, because I ended up making really good grades and graduated, like you said, on time, and so it did change me for the better for a while.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you
Until you like, Mama got to get her groove back.
Well, until I realized how stressful being an adult was, you know, because I went
like,
straight
this
from
is
that
real.
to like adulthood, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Because I mean, all of a sudden I needed furniture, I had bills to pay. I was trying to go to school, work 3 jobs, and be in college in Florida, and be a single mom. So that didn't work out too well. It didn't last long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely understand because
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a baby make you live longer?
I don't know if it's longer or shorter, honestly. 'Cause-
Probably the stresses.
yeah.
I say the same thing. I'm like, a baby does not make you live.
Yeah, I don't know.
longer.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe it could because like now you have something to live for, right? So
True.
you're fighting
true.
like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Good
point,
Because
good
I feel like
Yeah.
if I didn't have, my kids, who knows, I might not be here.
Yeah.
Because I was on a bad path, you know.
Now, I'm not saying that a kid doesn't turn your life around. Like, it does. It absolutely, like, as soon as they lay that baby on you, I literally felt it kicking. It was like, okay.
like this is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a parent. Like there's a whole life.
It wasn't even
dependent
like,
upon
this
me.
is real, I'm a parent. It was just like, all right, where my baby at? Like, mommy instinct just automatically
Yeah.
went into play. Like, do, 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 do.
Yeah.
Mine didn't come instantly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mine didn't. It took a while. Now I feel like it's just natural. Like I mom everybody, you know, now,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like natural. I had no idea what to do with this thing. You know, I loved him, but
Yeah.
it was just a weird, I was too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were a baby yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Like
can only imagine.
and probably still trying to process what you had just been through. So
Yeah.
it's like this is just a big shock to the system. All of these things that you've experienced in such
Yeah.
a short span of time.
It was crazy.
So
Especially
I wanted
verbalizing
to
it now.
ask the behavioral school, how much does that play in your life now? Like, what are some traumatic things? Like, do you ever find yourself in situations where like you catch yourself like, that's a trauma response that I'm doing right now?
I honestly, I feel like that, I mean, maybe just trusting people to not like, I guess, because at the time it was like a betrayal, right? It's like but that kind of goes along with other things too. There's a lot of things in my life that can make me that way, you know,
Right.
just the fear of betrayal
Yeah.
and just like, guarded in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it just really made me stronger, honestly, because then there was after that another incident where I was, not free for a while, and that was very traumatic too. And that was probably even more traumatic because I had kids then, and I just felt like the worst, like awful person in the world and, you know, whatever. But
Mom guilt.
I think it's because and before all that, like I mean, when I first moved away after I graduated high school and everything, I didn't want to be alone ever. Like I hated being alone with myself. Like, so I couldn't sleep. I would like pack up my son and like drive around just in the middle of the night because I didn't want to be alone, you know, and I don't want to be sitting there alone with myself, whatever. So I would just drive, look at the water and all this stuff. So I don't know, but after all this stuff, I'm like, I'm okay to be alone now. Like I'm comfortable with myself,
Yeah.
and I feel like even when bad things happen, it's
For a reason.
it's okay because it's not, nothing's killed me. Nothing can take me out. You know, like there's nothing I haven't survived.
Yeah.
Right. So it just makes like these things that seem like, you know, it could be a big deal, like stressing out about them, whatever. I'm not so concerned
big
with that
into
anymore.
that,
So it made me like that. And that's, you know,
That's huge. You know, in 2024, because it's crazy that it's 2025, I dealt with like really bad anxiety and just like kind of going back to what you said, when you're in your lowest of lows, like just remembering that time and that you've been there before and that you've gotten on the other side of those things.
Yeah.
I think that's so impactful and like
Absolutely.
it motivates you to keep going, right? Because you're like, I've been here before.
Yeah.
I can just, this is like small things to a giant. That's something my dad always says to me. It's small things to a giant. So you're just like,
yeah.
I can tackle this head on.
Yeah, and my mom actually had to say, she's like, this too shall pass, you know, and like that's, you know, because it will. Time takes care of everything, and if you're just patient, and you don't let things get to you so much,
Exactly.
so you freak out. Everything will fix itself if you let it. You know.
You just stay grounded. Don't spiral out.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm telling my entire family right now because the loss that we just had was major. And I'm just telling it, honestly, we've been like taking a couple of L's and that's why I had to tell my auntie, like, do not spiral out. Like, hang on to that mustard seed of faith. And I told her, like, you're still one of God's favorites. Like, you don't know why he's putting you through this now, but one day you're going to understand. And it sucks, but, you know, God's give his biggest battles to
The
stronger
strongest
soldiers.
soldiers. And he doesn't do anything, like everything that
you
he
can't
does is
handle.
for
Right.
a reason.
Yeah, unless you just not listening to him.
Yeah.
Unless you just like being disobedient. Like if
Right.
God's telling you one thing, oh baby, he ain't gonna take no for an answer. He said, I'm gonna keep shaking this table until you can't
That's a
turn your
good question. Do you feel like at any point in your life, like the situation where you said you were no longer free, do you feel like that was God sitting you down and like saying, okay, look, if you keep down this path, like your life, you're going to self implode. I
Yeah.
need to sit you down so that you can like take some time to figure it out.
Absolutely. He would stop me in my tracks every time with something that I didn't like at the moment. It was, you know, awful to me, but I look back and like it probably saved my life, you know,
Yeah.
honestly. So, and now when I'm going through things, I'm like, God, please let me learn the lesson this time. I don't want to
Yeah.
go through it again.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
I don't want you to teach me any more lessons. Like,
Yeah.
just
I'm
no
done.
more bad ones. Come on.
Yeah.
Because it took me a while to get things because I guess I was so stubborn, so independent. So I got this, you know, and it kind of, all this stuff made me like really tough, you know. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
got this. I don't need anybody, you know, I'll take care of this.
And did you get accustomed to doing things the hard way or the chaotic way?
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
We was
That's a
just
trauma
talking about that.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We was just
yeah.
talking about that in our last episode.
Yes, absolutely. And now I try to like, you know, not be that way. But it took a very long time, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's hard breaking habits.
Oh
It
my
is,
gosh,
it
yeah.
is. Especially when you're surrounded by them.
And hard giving up control when you're a person that doesn't really trust anybody to do anything right. You know, it's like, or not to hurt you or not, whatever.
Right.
So even God, you know, like giving God control was very, very hard for me. But then I look at the mess I made of
Yeah.
everything. I'm like,
He has to do, there has to be
yeah,
better.
like you're a miracle worker.
Okay.
Take it.
And it's so good. I didn't even have to ask you about the accountability that you played in, and you automatically like went
Yeah.
for it. So that shows growth in itself. So, at what point did you lose your freedom?
Well, I was 18, and then I turned 19 during this process. But I got in trouble with a boyfriend, and I got the F.
Yeah,
You don't want.
I made that
don't
look
want.
because I promise you. Did I not tell you? I literally have a story similar to this, and
really?
I went to jail. Like I almost got arrested, but they only detained me. But I guess they assumed that like this little girl, like because this guy was older than me.
You weren't in
so-
Florida, obviously.
no,
Yeah,
I was in
Florida
California.
was. Yeah, that's the one place where you never. Even if you want to, you're young, you want to do a little whatever experimenting, whatever you're doing, just don't do it in Florida because it will like destroy you. So yeah, that was my whole thing. And the guy was with us older. I was obviously not involved, but I could see where they could definitely charge me being involved because what was, and it wasn't anything violent or anything like that. It was just, but, and there was another car of people too. They let all of them go, but then they kept me and then took me back to my house, even though it was in another county. So it was really weird. The whole thing was real shady. And then they left me loose in like the police station, let me eat all the food in their fridge and stuff in their break room. It was really weird. And then they're like, oh, so actually we're going to keep you. I'm like, this whole time I thought I was going to get to go. And then like they decided to keep me. And I just went ahead and pled guilty and everything because in Florida, it's like minimum mandatories. So what I was looking at if I lost was like 36 years or something. And I was 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so you took a deal, and then
I took a deal, and it was they gave me 3 years of probation, so no jail time, right?
okay.
But in Florida, also, when you get in trouble, they will hard suspend your driver's license, so you cannot get a work permit. You can't do anything. You have to work because you have to pay all your fines and your this and that, and you have to have a job
they're
as your
doing that in
condition.
California too.
Really?
Yeah, like ID is big in California.
Well, I had to drive, because I lived in my mom. She came around. She moved to Florida, but she lived like way out in the sticks in Florida. Like I don't know. It's called Benel. It's just you've never heard of it because no one's heard of it. But so and I ended up having to go stay with her, and I needed a job, and she literally lived, I'm telling you, in the middle of nowhere I could walk to.
Wow.
So I drove, and I got in trouble again. And then every time you get in trouble, they're like, you're charged with, it looks like anyway, that you've been charged with the same thing again. So you're reoffending or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
For something as small as like driving without a
driving
license.
on a suspended license.
So we're gonna charge you again for the same reason that you got in trouble.
I mean, so technically it's not like you're doing this thing repeatedly,
Right.
but like on paper, like when I look at what record, it looks like, oh gosh, all these, because it's somehow in their system or whatever, it shows up as that. So it looks really bad.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I ended up having to be locked up for a year. And what was real crazy about that is that the other side was fighting to get me like the full term, and I'm like, I didn't even do anything.
wow. Yeah.
So yeah, and then that was devastating because I had the kids then, and when the door shut behind me, I can't even explain it. I like fainted. It was like devastating, like because you're totally out of control. Like you can't call mom and dad to
come
whatever.
get you out of this.
When I got
Yeah.
detained, I fell to my knees. I did almost.
Gosh.
Part of it I didn't eat for a while,
yeah.
but with that happening,
So that was
I
enough.
literally
It
fell
took
to
the
my
strength.
knees
Yeah.
a little bit. I'm like, oh dang.
That feeling of powerlessness, like completely no control over the situation whatsoever anymore. I mean, before you made the choice, of course you did, but
Yeah.
Now it's like all.
yeah.
And so
You're just
how was
here.
it when you went in?
It
Was it scary?
Scary.
Like, the women were scary?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so in the beginning, I was in like, general population or whatever. And then it was just crazy people. Like they were just doing gross things. And some lady was like sharpening a razor blade and put it on top of our door. And I'm just like, where am I? Like, gotta get me out of here. Like, so
I'm ready to go home.
yeah, I did do something good in there though. It did turn into a positive because there was a like a program you could sign up for. I forgot what it's called now, honestly. But in that, we started off in like this a different section of jail. It was so much cleaner. And you took classes, you could pick what kind of class you wanted to take. And it was another program type of thing where you got points and levels and whatever. Then we got to move to like the juveniles, sorry. It sounds like a daycare the other way, but the juvenile like boot camp ranch or whatever that they had to shut down because I guess some kids had gotten hurt. So our program got to move into there. And in there, we actually had beds, like with mattresses, pillows, and doors and carpet and stuff.
Wow. She
Yeah.
said carpet.
Yeah.
Happy about that.
Yeah. And we got to use like their old gym equipment because they had dumbbells and stuff for the kid when the juveniles were there. And the guards were so nice. They like my roommate. I only had one roommate there too. So her parents owned a restaurant and they would like go get food on lunch break or whatever and bring it back. And they'd be like, Alessandra, Katie, go to your room. And we were like, oh, what? And they were like, there's Caesar salad and stuff in there.
Wow.
So it was a blessing. I ran
Yeah.
an Iron Girl marathon while I was
What's
incarcerated.
that?
Yeah. It's like, well, I only did the running part, but I think like the Iron whatever marathon, it's like you do swimming and biking. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I got to run free, like with my commissary shoes. But I still got to like, run free with all the
Yeah.
other runners, like no guards around me. It was so cool, like to be trusted like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was a positive experience.
Yeah, they definitely
Even
trusted
though-
you.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
They said, you're capable
She
to
said
be
she's
in
okay
this.
to be out here.
Yeah. And that felt really good. That was, I mean, even though it was a terrible experience, I mean, it was way better than like the other experience in that way.
Oh, I was going to ask. That was my next question. I was going to say, so which one was worse? So
Yeah.
the kids' camp behavioral school was worse than jail.
Yeah.
Would you consider it to be prison or just jail?
Jail.
Okay.
I did jail because the judge, he knew, I think finally the judge was like, listen, I've tried to give you so many chances. But like the judge, he was like, if you get sentenced to 365 days or more, then you go to prison. But anything under 365 days, you stay in jail. So he only sentenced me to exactly like 364 days or something like that. So, but then I had to go from there to another place because it's a long story, but we had to get like to not do the minimum mandatory, you had to get like a downward departure is what it's called from that minimum mandatory sentence. So they said I had like a dual diagnosis thing, like I was depressed and I liked drugs or I was on a drug addiction or something. So, and then so I had to go to this other place when I got out of there. And then it was just this whole process to get back home finally. But
Yeah.
Thank goodness that you did.
yeah.
I like to say that, jail is basically like being alive but dead at the same time. How would you agree with that statement? Or
It is because my biggest fear was I was going to be forgotten about, and like my time would come around to be able to go, and like I'd just be lost in the system.
Yeah.
Funny thing about that is that happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if my time was, I was ready to go. My time was up. I knew it, and then no one came. Like because they had it mixed up with my transportation, like who was going to take me to this other place because I couldn't go home. I even like made a court date and represented myself because my lawyer didn't show up in front of the same judge.
What?
Yeah, he's like, so what are you doing here today, Miss Katie? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I finished this program. He's like, okay, great. Good job. Like, so can I go home?
Yeah.
He's like, haha, no.
Why though?
Yeah.
If you did
you-
your time.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's like I wanted to leave early
Okay.
because I hadn't finished my time, but I finished that program.
Oh,
Right.
gotcha.
And so I did get forgotten about, but then a guard there, she went and got permission to drive me herself. So she drove me, and that was really
That's
cool.
amazing.
Wow.
Then I finally, after all that, made it home, back to my kids.
How
and
was the
then
first shower? When
And
you
what
got
was the
home?
first thing you ate?
cheeseburger. Cheeseburger.
A cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get a cheeseburger
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. That cheeseburger was probably like
Wow.
the best cheeseburger
Oh my gosh,
ever.
it was amazing.
And what do you feel like as far as the justice system? Like, what's the pros and what's the cons? Like, do you
it is terrible. Like it.
we need to revamp it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to
Like-
run for president?
No, I mean, I don't think I. Well, actually, I don't know. now we
at
can
this
be.
point, you probably could.
yeah, anything's possible now.
Anything's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, might be a
Absolutely.
plus now. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but it was because it's like impossible, right? So I feel very fortunate and blessed that I had a family, and that I don't know, I just had something. I was attractive, young
Yeah.
female, so that helped to find, jobs and stuff. But if I still couldn't get a place to live.
There was people who couldn't believe you.
Yeah.
Like couldn't believe that you were going through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can only imagine.
How hard was it to like acclimate back to life after that? Like, what challenges did you have?
A lot. It was a straight uphill, it's a very steep hill battle. Just because, okay, so I was poor. Obviously, I had like no money because I had no job and I had, all these, I had nothing.
Yeah.
So I couldn't, but you can't get any assistance because you're, a felon. So you can't, even now, even though it's just 20 some odd years ago, I still like on my taxes and stuff, like even though I was in school, like my kids get the education, whatever stuff on their
grants and
taxes.
stuff.
Yeah. But I don't because have you ever been convicted of this?
Wow.
So yeah, it still affects me to this day. That anytime anybody wants to do like a background check or whatever, and it's not like a person, it's just a what do you call those things? Like algorithm or a system, like whatever you call those things.
It's like a pre.
Like just it's you're just a number and whatever, so no one knows you. So I get like, rejected from so many things all the time. Like I could never have a Turo account. Like they instantly like kicked me off. Yeah. So it still affects me even though it's been so long. But
Have
like
you ever thought about getting it expunged?
I can't.
Oh, you can't? Wow.
No. That was honestly like a special condition of my sentence was that I couldn't, because I had a youthful offender thing the first time because I was so young. But they took that away when I got, in trouble again. That was one of the judges' like stipulations. So, but yeah, like
They're so strategic out here.
yeah, but they set you up to fail because
Exactly.
yeah,
And it's like, why?
yeah, there's no rehabilitation. I mean, I did the program, but that was, it was great but what I learned from it was, it had nothing to do with the program. It was just
to make time.
right. It gave me a
It's
safe space.
You know what it probably is a tax cut.
Yeah,
That's
I'm sure.
probably what it is.
It's just so crazy because it's easy to understand how people get out of those situations and then reoffend, right? Because it's like you're not setting me up to do
Right.
anything.
Exactly.
Like I wasn't a criminal when
Yeah.
I went in,
Right.
not really, I
Yeah.
wasn't a hardened criminal or anything. I'm still not, but when I got out, I had to learn how to do things in a kind of a shady way for a while because it kind of turned me into like a criminal
Yeah.
in a sense because, you have to lie about things just to get this or whatever,
Right.
and it's,
How long did it take you to get a job?
well, so when I first got out, I actually was taking these classes to be like a personal trainer and stuff. Then I had to do an internship. And I got kicked out of the internship after I already finished the classes because they're like, whoa, we just got your background and you can't be here anymore. And so that was, yeah. And then I was like, well, great. That sucks. And then I started bartending though. And that like, honestly was like my saving grace. I did that for a long time because no one cared.
Right.
The money was decent.
Yeah.
And
And you're pretty, so you got hella
Yeah.
tips.
Yeah, it's needed.
it was something I could do, and it saved me like until it didn't. And then I just quit one day and I, just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really, so I think about that too. Like, what about people that, can't do that? Like no one's going to hire them to bartend or like whatever. They don't have family that will help them. Because my dad, he flew and he bought me a car, and it was like a $1,000 car, and it made noises and it, everything was wrong.
From point A to point
Yeah,
B.
it did. And I was so grateful for it.
I bought my first car for like $2,000 something. Do you know I still have it?
Really?
Yeah.
From 2016.
Oh my goodness.
2015?
That thing is going.
Yeah,
It has.
and I still ride it. Okay, faithfully. Do not care.
It's still getting you from point A to point B. Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, we are getting closer to the end of the podcast. And so our last question for you would be, if you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would you go back and tell her?
To like not spiral, like you're saying, to just
Yeah.
to hold on, it's gonna get better. Like just that's it. Because and just that she's loved
Yeah.
and everything's gonna be okay.
And what about any girl that may be going through or coming out of the behavioral school?
It's the same thing.
If you
that
could
it
write
just-
a little girl letter right now, what would you tell her?
Gosh, that's difficult. I don't know. Because I mean, just that she's not alone, you know, and I don't know what her parents were thinking, you know, or whatever, but I would like to make her feel like she wasn't abandoned and rejected, you know, because that feeling of like rejection is, I would tell her to come live with me. I would take care of her now.
Yeah. That is so sweet.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but but if their parents were like mine, it's just, you know, your parents make mistakes and just don't ever feel like you weren't
and they
loved.
weren't fully aware of what's
right.
going on.
Because that's the tough thing when you feel rejected and abandoned by the people that
I could only
you know,
imagine.
Yeah.
I
that-
could only imagine.
you're supposed to trust the most. Yeah.
But it's a testament and it means so much. It says so much about who you are and your personality that you're just able to like still have this positive disposition on life and like that you're just such a, like your energy is so light and like bubbly. And you don't look like anything that you've been through at all. So
Thank
that's
you.
amazing.
Yeah, it's great because it would
Yeah.
suck if I did.
And last question. I got another question. Is pretty privilege?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, and that's why I say I felt very, I mean, of course I'm older now, but like, you know, I would say I felt very fortunate that
To come across the
at least
people.
that,
Yeah.
at least I had that one thing. I had
Yeah.
nothing going for me at all, but at least I had something, you know, like it just,
Yeah.
what do I have? Well,
I look good.
Hey. And sometimes that's all you need, okay?
all right. So
Yeah.
yeah, in a sense. But then in other ways, it could have detracted from me finding better things to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It also shows you grace though in in little ways, right?
Mm.
Like I feel like that's a topic too, by the way. A lot of people like pretty, you know, is pretty privilege a thing? And it is.
It is.
I'm so grateful. Aren't
Yeah.
you grateful?
Hey,
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because
it
people will
sucks,
help
but
you.
at least we know that side of like, it just sucks, but
Yeah.
it's a thing. It
Yeah,
does
yeah,
work.
it is.
For
I mean,
your
life is hard
benefit.
enough, but like if you have that one thing that
Yeah.
maybe can make something easier, you know.
It's like,
It
hey, those were the cards I was dealt. Don't
Right.
be mad at me.
Yeah.
This is where the tips are coming from.
And maybe somebody else might have like more, I don't know,
Their cards
whatever
were
else.
heavier somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
Something
I
like that.
can't believe that I have someone who went to the show that was on Netflix. You know what? I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the behavioral school, it was one girl who was in that school and she talked about all the points and stuff, and the school was abandoned and they left all the documents. Like, so they stayed at the school and they kept going back and they kept digging up documents. They were finding people's social security cards.
It's not
like,
surprising.
crazy.
Yeah.
Notes, like they found old tapes, what the teachers were doing to the students.
There was a lot of suicides there too. Like a lot of kids, and some even when they got out would, you know, end up committing suicide too.
Wow.
It was really, I don't
Not
know
a
how
good
it was
place.
allowed to go on.
And it's just like, how could someone continue to, you know, put kids through that and they know that that's what's going on? Like, what are they going through internally to sit there and be like, this is okay. This is what you need.
Yeah.
What? But
I hope that's like a dead industry now. You
I
know?
hope so too.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's so many better means. Like if your kid is acting out, there's therapy. Like there's talk to them, sit them down, have a conversation. There's so many better ways to go about it than that.
Yeah.
That's just something that I tell my husband all the time. Like before my daughter was born, I told him, I'm like, we're gonna have to figure out a way to communicate with her because you have a little girl and those teenage stages are going to be crazy.
The biggest thing that I would say about that and what I try to do with my kids, because I think the one thing that really held me back was not having anyone to talk to. So like I never wanted to make my kids feel like I was going to overreact.
Right.
Always going to stay calm so you can trust me to tell me anything and talk to me about it. And I'm going to stay cool, calm, and collected. So
Yeah.
like, so that's like
A
the
plus.
most
That's
important
good
thing.
piece of
Honestly.
advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just creating like an open
Receive that.
space for communication.
Even if you
like,
want to freak out, don't. Because
Yeah.
then they're
That's what I
never going to want to tell you anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And also to be graceful with them. They're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna, you know, it's kind of like a little toddler. They're gonna test their boundaries and be able to just in tune yourself with your kid and pay attention and try to read them and let them know like I'm here. Like even the birds and the bees talk is like, you know, I can't stop that from happening. And as a girl, I know that there's nothing that us as parents there's nothing we could keep from you. Like if you want to do it, you want to do
You're
it.
gonna go figure out.
And Mari kind of like is opposite of that. Like he had alarms like dee dee on his door and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I tell him like you're just gonna have to figure like if she wanted to find a way, she's going to. So you just need to be, find the balance between, daddy and but you could come to me. Like I'm gonna always tell you the real, but you could come to me and I love you. So
Yeah.
That's a good topic for another episode, parenting and the different styles and how to go about it.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be huge.
absolutely.
But
Well,
thank you so much
Yes.
for
Yes.
sitting with us and sharing your information, your story, and like just being vulnerable with us. We really appreciate it.
yeah.
It was good talking to you guys.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
good.
if you guys liked this video, what do they need to do, Malaysia?
Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification.
Period.
And thank you for tuning in to Boldly Becoming Podcast, where we learn resilience and
And how to strive to be your higher functioning self. So we will see you guys on the next episode. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.
Say that you're gonna be.
Nancy.